In today's video, we are going to be going through how to use React to send an email through a fetch request to a PHP file or an API. Let's get started. Hey guys, welcome back to a new episode of Dev Drawer. Today we're going to be taking a previous project that we did where we built a simple React-based website. I currently got it running. You can go check that video. It'll be in the description. But basically, we created modules for the About Us, homepage, not found, as well as the contact page. So what I wanted to do in this tutorial is to expand on what we did there and actually create the functionality that will replace this send email, so you can kind of have a working idea of how to hit how to actually be able to send email from a React project. So with React, it's JavaScript based instead of server-side processing based, which means that you can't send email natively from it. So you have to hit a third-party source, whether it's using an API, an actual third-party service, or if you're hitting a PHP file that you create on your server. It could be on this server inside of your public HTML, which is the way I'm going to show you how to do it. But I'm actually in the code, I'm going to hit a sample file that I've created just specifically for sending emails. And don't get any ideas about trying to hit that file on your own, because after this video is live, that file will be removed from my server, so you won't be able to access it. But it'll essentially be the exact same code that I'm going to be putting inside of here. So let's first get started by creating the PHP code that we need to actually process the email on the server. So the reason why I'm adding it into the public folder is because on your server, you're just going to hit, as part of the fetch request, it's going to be yourdomain.com/send-mail.php. So let's go ahead and create that. And this is the way that I would run it if I was using this on a website. I would just have the PHP inside of this public folder, and then we're going to modify the PHP to do whatever server-side processing that we need it to do. But whenever you are going to do it, whenever you actually go to modify your contact.js, I'm going to be pointing it to the devdrawer.com. You would point it to either your current server, or if you're hosting this file somewhere else, you could point it to that somewhere else. You just have to kind of keep in mind whenever you're doing that, you have to work with CORS, and I'll show you the optimal setup for how to do it. If you're doing it on your own site, CORS isn't really an issue because you're not doing any kind of cross-site scripting or anything like that. But if you're trying to hit it on an external URL, which I will be in this tutorial, you have to manage the CORS aspect of it. So let's go ahead and start writing some PHP code. So the first thing we want to do is actually handle the CORS. And again, this isn't necessary if you're doing it on your own domain. If you're doing it on a separate domain, then it is necessary. So we're going to do header, and then inside of this header, we're going to do access, control, allow, origin. And then for right now, just because we're going to have it wide open for this tutorial, we're going to do where we're going to be passing pretty much anything can go to it. All right, so we need to also create a second one that's going to be allow headers. And we're going to put in the specific headers that we're going to be sending to it. Or in this case, we're going to be sending over the content type, which will be the actual post. So inside the PHP, we want to confirm that this is actually being sent over as a post. So we're going to do if server request method, needs to be all uppercase. So request method, and we want this to be equal to post. So if it's a post request, we want it to process and actually send the email. So the sending the email part of it is pretty standard. I mean, it's essentially just sending over a PHP email. So let's go ahead and set up everything that we need. So the first thing that we're going to do that would probably be different than what you would normally do it if you're sending it from a PHP form is that we're going to be sending over the data that instead of coming from a post object, we're going to actually be sending it over from the React script, which is going to send it as a JSON object. So we're going to do JSON decode and then file get contents. And inside of this, it's going to be basically just doing the PHP input. And then we also want it to parse as an array. So we're going to send it over as the data is going to become an array. It's going to be based on the JSON that's being sent over as part of the post request. Okay, so now let's make sure that we have everything that we need. So we're going to be sending over a name, and if the name doesn't have anything, let's just send over a blank, because the validation should happen prior to it getting here based on the previous tutorial. So let's do name email equals let's see, data email, and then I'm going to be sending that over as a blank as well. Guess I could have done this a lot easier just by duplicating it. Where's my thing? Okay. I'm using a new keyboard right now. It might be a little bit more clicky. I finally went out and got me one of those mechanical keyboards. I love it. I don't know if you've ever used one, but I highly recommend getting one because it's so clicky. Anyway, you could probably hear the clicks. Okay. Okay, so just in case the data for whatever reason is being sent over from the contact.js, even though on this file itself it actually goes in there and validates everything, just in case it somehow makes it through, we still want to check it. So let's do an if statement, and we're going to do empty name or empty email or empty, because all of these are required for us to process what we want to process. So if it's any of that is empty, we're just going to return a response code, so HTTP response code, and it's going to be a 400, meaning that the email failed, and then it's actually going to produce a email message. So we're going to do JSON encode, or not an email, but a response message, and we're just going to pass an error, and then this is just going to equal all fields are required, which will also be displayed. If it doesn't pass, it'll be displayed on the contact form. Okay, so let's exit out after that. Now I want to check to make sure that the email is good, so let's use some PHP filter functionality. So we're going to do a filter var, and inside of this we're going to pass the email, and then we want it to do the filter validate email method. So if it doesn't validate the email, we're essentially going to send over another response code, and we're going to tell it that the email address is invalid, so invalid email address. Okay, so there is our checks. If it makes it through all of this, what we want to do is send the email. So let's get down here and let's create our form options. So we're going to set up our two variable. Let's also set up a subject, and let's do the body. So the body there, and then let's also send over some headers, and we're going to make this one, it's going to come from email. Okay, so for the two, I'm just going to put in your name at example.com. So this will be where your email address goes. For the subject, we're just going to say something simple. So new contact form submission. And then for the body, we want to send over all of the variables. So we're going to do something simple. We're just going to do name equals $name, and then we want to do a new line. And then let's do the email equals email, and then let's give it 2 lines, and then we're just going to pass in the message. Okay, so now it should send over name, email, and then the message all on separate lines. And close that out. Now, so we have our form variables, so we're going to do a check to see if it actually sends. So we're going to do the PHP mail statement. So we're going to check if the mail was successful. So let's pass in the variable. So we're going to do to subject body headers. So if all of that passes, we want to kind of do the same thing that we're doing up here, but we're going to pass in a different response code of 200. And it's not going to be an error. We're just going to pass in message. I don't know why I did that with double quotes, but okay, it's fine. Email sent successfully. You know what, it's going to bother me. So let's do this. Okay. Now we're going to come down here. So we want it to send over the message back to the server that the email is being sent from on the React code. We want it to have a response message. Otherwise, we're going to copy this and we're going to send an error. So if the mail is not successful, so let's do our else statement here. We're going to pass in a 500 error, and we're just going to say that it failed to send the email. So failed to send email. And then finally, if it does not match this request method, we want to come over here, and if it doesn't match this request method, we're going to send another error that is going to be a 405 because it is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. So we're going to send over the error method not allowed. Okay, so that is the PHP for this file. So once we get the contact stuff set up over here, it's actually going to hit this file on your server. In my case, I'm going to add this exact same code to the DevDrawer server, and then we're just going to hit that one for this tutorial purposes, so you can see how it actually responds in the console and everything. But for right now, this is the file that you would need. So whether this is stored on your server, whether it's stored on a different server, or in the case that you're using a third party, so you're hitting an API or something like that, then you would just point it to that direction whenever we actually go to modify the contact.js. By doing it this way, you can get emails sent to you, but you don't necessarily have a way to kind of track how those emails are being opened, or how your response rate, stuff like that. So I think this is a great point to bring up our sponsor for today, Mailtrap.io.
Today's episode is sponsored by Mailtrap, an email delivery platform that developers love. What's cool about Mailtrap? It's actionable analytics, the best in the industry, with full statistics and drill down reports on each and every email you send. Mailtrap offers separate streams for transactional and bulk emails, SMTP and API integrations, plus SDKs for major programming languages. At Mailtrap, human support is available around the clock for all customers. Try today at Mailtrap.io and provide the promo code DevDrawer to create a free Mailtrap 10K basic email sending plan for a month till the end of 2024.
All right, so welcome back, and thank you, Mailtrap, for that. So let's go ahead and continue on this. So we have our PHP done. Now we're going to move into the contact.js, and this is pretty simple. I mean, it's basically a fetch, which we have done plenty of times, especially whenever we're like in one of these pages that's actually bringing in, I think it's the about, yeah, the about. So, you know, in the about.js, we're actually using fetch to grab some of this stuff. So whenever you're doing a contact request inside of React, I mean, it's essentially using the same kind of code that you would use with a regular API. So let's go ahead and write some of that. So let's do try. And for this try, let's go ahead and set up our catch error. And then we want to do a finally. And so we're gonna try to hit the API or hit the mail form. So let's switch this back over to contact. So we're gonna try to hit the mail form. If it doesn't work, we're going to display the error, and then finally we're going to set the set this variable here, so it's not automatically being set at the top anymore. So let's come right here and set is. Oh wait, no, it's not submitting anymore. So we need to change this to it's no longer being submitted, it is currently submitted. So once it finally gets done through with everything, it's going to turn this off and it's going to just show us the whatever message that we have on there. Okay, so let's start with our try. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to hit that API. So let's set up a constant response equals await fetch. And then inside of this, I'm going to hit my dev drawer URL, so the devdrawer.com. If you haven't been there, please go check it out. But I have a files folder for this project, and then we're going to be hitting the sendemail.php file that we've created here. Send mail, send email. Okay, well, on my server, I think I have it called send email. I'll have to verify that. If it doesn't work, we'll change it around, but this should be the file that we need. Okay, so we want to send it there. And then we want to do the method of post, because that is what we are checking for in the PHP. And we want to send over the headers, which is going to be content type application JSON. Okay, so now we have the headers. Now we want to send over the actual body of the code. And this is going to be, no, that's not what I wanted to do. Body, this is just going to be json.stringify, and then we're going to parse over the form data that we are collecting up here already. Okay, so now we have our response. It's doing what it needs to do. For the time being, I'm just going to do a console.log response. So if it does what it needs to do, we want to go in here and check it. So the response should be coming back with a response OK. So we're going to do response.OK. So if response OK, we're going to set submit it, and this is just going to be true. So this set submitted is put up here, which basically displays the thank you message for us. So that was part of the previous tutorial that I showed you how to do it. So we're going to set that as true. Otherwise, we are going to set errors, which again is something that will display on the form itself. So we're going to set the errors, and the API error we're going to pass is there. See, there was an error submitting the form. Please try again. So that's only necessary if it's actually not doing what we want it to do. So also if there's actually an error returned from the server, then we want it to parse that. And then I believe that should be it. So if we come over here, let me inspect the console here. Get rid of that. Everything there is working. So we're going to do test. Let's do test at example.com. This is a test. And in theory, it should work whenever we hit submit. Otherwise, it'll display an error here. So, so we have a CORS issue here. That's because I'm on a local host. This is not something you normally have to worry about, but give me just a second and I will get it fixed on my local host. Okay, all fixed. So just because I'm on the local host, that's the only reason why you're seeing that. I'm using this access control origin on add-on for Chrome just to kind of fake the CORS right now. But again, once you're on your own server, you don't really have to worry about it. Even if you were on a different server, the stuff that we put in this sendmail.php up here would be sufficient. But because I'm on a local host doesn't react the same way. So if you want to recreate what I'm doing on your local host, you essentially just have to add something to your browser. In this case, I have access control allow origin, which is an add-on for Chrome. I put it in there. I just set some of the dummy settings, allowed the dev drawer to be one of the domains that I could use. I don't want to show you the settings just because it's a little bit specific to my setup, but you could just use this to kind of fake it until you get it pushed out live. But if we go and do this now, so we do test an example, and this is a test, and we hit submit, it no longer shows the error message, it shows thanks, and we can actually see the console log response here saying that it's okay. There's no status text that's being sent over, it's not being redirected, so everything is working as it should be, and this should be sending us over a 200, well, that's already visible, but a 200 status because that's how we have it set up inside of our PHP here. So it's going to be sending over a 200 to us. So everything is working as intended. It redirected, or it didn't redirect us. It hit everything except for the thanks form. So if we go back over here, yep, so everything's working now. So that's how you send an email in React. Again, you can't do an email directly in React because it's not a server-side processing language. I'm sure there's some add-ons that you can probably install that would allow you to do that, but if you wanted to hand code it like I just did, this is the way to do it. I'm using PHP, but again, you could hit a third party, you can hit an API that already sends it. I mean, there's everything that you do is pretty much controlled with this little bit of code right here. But yeah, so this was it. I want to again thank Mailtrap for sponsoring this video. I do appreciate it. Go check them out. Use our promotional code that was listed in the video. It should also be listed in the description as well. But if you have any comments about this, leave me a comment, questions, anything like that. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. I'm starting to do more React stuff just because I have a project right now that I am working on that involves it pretty heavily. So I just want to kind of make sure that I'm showing all the things that I'm learning as I'm doing it. So hopefully this helps you out. If it didn't, don't give me a thumbs down, just leave me a comment. Otherwise, I will talk to you later.